Hello everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Artists, and my guest today is Jim Humble. He is a fellow sculptor, and hey, Jim, welcome.
Hey, Dave. Thanks. Welcome. Glad for having me. I think they just thanks for having me. That's what I meant to say.
You're welcome. Um, uh, so, you've been a sculptor for some time now. What got you into the field?
Um, that's a good question. I just always, even when I was a little kid, I was always drawing or fiddling with something. So I wanted to either be an artist or a wildlife biologist. That was my two choices right from the get-go. So I just kind of wildlife biology ended up being more book learning than I wanted to do at the time. So
Um, so did you do any formal training for sculpting, or is it been the School of Hard Knocks, or how did you get into it?
it's been mostly self-taught. I took all the AP classes in high school, and then I did a couple of years, about 2.5 years in college, where I had a fine arts degree. So I did a lot, but I did a lot more painting and graphic design than I did sculpting there. And then, in my genius youth, I decided I don't need a college degree. I'm going to be an artist. So I never finished up that degree, which has kind of haunted me in the past, since everybody wants you to have a college degree now if you're applying for work anywhere. But mostly self-taught, and then picking other artists like yourself's brains for ideas and techniques and things.
Yeah, I think we met for the first time. It's way back. I think at WindyCon, if I remember right. And I think you were artist guest of honor there, and I was just simply fascinated with your work. I remember seeing a little cat with that was steampunked up, and I was like, "Oh, that's so awesome!" um, so you do both. You do both sculpting and painting. Which do you prefer?
I, for the most part, probably prefer the sculpting. Um, it just kind of comes second nature to me, and I think I'm probably better at it. And most of the painting I do now is digital painting. I've been playing a little bit with some pour painting ideas and that stuff, but I like the computer because I can manipulate things through really interesting ways in the computer. So, but yeah, probably sculpting is still my first go to.
Oh, hang on,
No problem.
hang on. Oh, what's going on here? Well, that was weird. Okay, I think I lost your volume. Okay, hang on.
Okay, no
There.
problem.
Oh, you're back. Okay. All right.
Sure. As soon as we go live, technical issues.
Technical issues. Well, probably more operator error than anything else.
Shh, shh.
Um, yeah, let me see if I can see if there's anybody. There's somebody in the chat room besides us. Oh, welcome, and feel free to ask questions. Ah, well, so let's take a look at some of your work. We'll pull that up, and
Um, so let's see. I haven't made one of these in a while, but this was a wall fountain that I made of Mighty Cthulhu.
oh, that is cool.
Yeah. Biggest problem with the wall fountains, if you don't make them just right, is they splash all over the place.
Yeah. So, are you replicating? How big is this piece anyway?
This piece was about, and this was a one of a kind. This was well before I was doing any kind of mold work. This piece was probably 15-ish wide by probably 18 tall.
Wow. Okay.
So
And
like the pump is hidden in the back of his head. And he's got this little spout right under his eye. That's where the water came out of.
oh, cool. So, what did you do this in? What kind of material?
This was just this is actually my favorite material to work in, and it's just regular old water-based clay that you fire in a kiln.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I'd forgotten about the fact that you're doing a lot of pieces that were fired in a kiln.
yeah, it's still the fastest material for me to work in.
So, do you have to worry about air bubbles or that type of thing when you're firing this clay in the kiln?
I used to when I was younger. I would catch an air bubble someplace, and it would, I've had a few pieces explode over the years, but I've been doing it long enough now that I very rarely, knock on wood, have any problems with air bubbles anymore.
Yeah,
But
cool.
that's just a matter of experience, because I'm old as dirt, so I've been doing this for a while.
Well, on the so when you say it explodes, what kind of explosion is it? Is it just like
Um,
destroy the piece, or is it like blow the lid off of the kiln, or
it's not blow the lid off the kiln. Basically, it makes a little. What happens is the outside of the clay vitrifies, and you have this air bubble, and it hasn't finished burning off all the molecular water, so it creates a little steam pocket in there, and the steam expands to the point where it just blows off, and usually it just blows several chunks off of the piece. Which, in my case, since my stuff is sculptural as opposed to functional, I sometimes can actually fix it.
yeah, just go
If,
back. Yeah.
if I was doing pottery that you had to like eat out of or anything, yeah, it's just a loss. So, but yeah, so this is my favorite media to work with. But the problem is it's kind of a nightmare to ship anywhere.
Oh, the gargoyles, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, that was kind of my bread and butter for the longest time was gargoyles, and I still do them. Usually do one or two a show, but probably 20 years ago when I was still doing shows in the real world, I did pretty much nothing but gargoyles, and I would just have like hundreds of these things hung up in my booth, just all one of a kind, different gargoyles.
Yeah.
And when you're doing those shows every couple of weekends, you have to get really fast.
These have such a great look to them. I like all the cracks, and they look really good aged. They look just like they came off of a stone building that's been up there for a while. I love the look.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Like I said, I still make them. I usually go a bit more complex, kind of like this one, just because if I'm going to make a gargoyle, I want to spend some time making them really cool. Um, yeah, prior to doing the gargoyles, I was actually had a booth at the local Renaissance Festival where I could have sold the heck out of gargoyles, but I didn't actually have permission to sell gargoyles. I was selling wildlife plaques, so I'd be making eagle heads and that kind of thing mounted. That were basically the same theme, basically made the same way. They would just mount to the wall, but the painting of an eagle head is far more complex than a painting of a gargoyle. And the gargoyles would have fit that particular venue so much better. But
Yeah.
there was somebody else who already had the gargoyle booth going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but man, these are great.
Thank you. Yeah, they're
Uh,
a lot of fun to make.
Makes me because I have a small kiln, and it would be nice to experiment a little bit with clay and see what's possible.
Oh yeah, I can give you any tips you want because my kiln's not huge, and these. Unless you're getting really, as long as it fits in your kiln, you can fire it.
Well, I have a large jewelry kiln, so it's about I think the diameter of it maybe is about 12 to 14 inches. It might be 14 inches across, and then about that deep too.
Do you
So
know how,
not
do
a
you know how
big
hot?
one.
Do you know how hot it gets?
Oh yeah, it'll go all the way up to like 2,000 degrees. So
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you could do gargoyles in there or dragons or whatnot.
yeah, my son had bought it for me initially for to make jewelry out of that metal clay stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever played with that before, but that's fascinating stuff.
No, I've
So
seen it. But I've never played with it.
it's not something that you could actually. Well, I guess some people do, but I'm not that fast. It's not something that you could actually sculpt with. But if you have a press mold, like a silicone press mold, you can take the stuff and press it into that mold and let it dry, pull it out, put it into the kiln, and fire it. And what you end up with is real metal, like bronze or sterling silver or gold, even. Although the
Nice.
gold is really, really pricey.
That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, and then like the gargoyles are their finish on them is pretty easy. It's usually just a black wash of usually just paint. Um, this was a little Cthulhu ornamental dagger thingy made out of epoxy putty, which is probably my second favorite material to work out of.
Well, yeah, as you know, the epoxy stuff. It can be challenging. So I don't know. It's not like working with clay. It's not like working with super sculpey. It wants to stick to stuff, stick to your tools.
Yeah, and it's got that real. You kind of got to wait for it to firm up,
Mm-hmm.
have that good working window, but then you have to finish that section before it over firms.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of problems with it, but
But
you can get
it's so
remarkable
durable.
stuff going.
Yeah, and it's so durable, so it survives shipping a lot better than like clay does.
Yeah, and stronger than super sculpey too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a. I don't know if you can see it. This is a. Can you see that at all?
Let me get you on full screen here. Yeah.
So this is a commission piece that I'm working on. It's a Cthulhu dagger,
Oh,
and it's
that
made
is
entirely,
outstanding.
entirely out of epoxy putty at this point in time. So, so you got little Cthulhu's. Uh, there we go.
Let's
Little
switch that.
Cthulhu's
Yeah, there we go.
head sitting in there, and then the side view is his body.
Oh, that is cool, man.
So
Nice
pretty much,
idea.
yeah. Thanks. So now I'm gonna make a simplified version and probably do some casts out of an idea like this, because this would be a nightmare to cast the way it's set up now.
It could be done, but yeah, you're right. It would. Do you find that when you're working with something and I mean, let me rephrase that. I always think in terms of like if I'm going to cast something, I sculpt differently than I would if I wasn't. Um, you can't have any undercuts. You can't have any, enclosed loops. There's a lots of things that you have to think about when you're working to cast something.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like okay, I'm gonna make a mold out of this, so I can afford to spend some time and put a lot more detail and stuff like that. But I have to, like you say, you have to design it in such a way that it'll mold easily, or you have to cut it apart, which is trickier than it sounds. For me, I'll cut pieces apart and then I'll pre-fit them and I'll get them all lined up and have them perfect and they line up great. Then I'll make the mold. I'll pull the first piece out and it doesn't line up right. It's like, what happened here?
Yeah, Yeah, I've had a lot of similar experiences with mold making. Um, and then I've been, fairly fortunate with some things. It's like I'm pleasantly surprised sometimes. It's like, what happened there? It worked.
Woo-hoo. But yeah, I do find that just the freeform casting or the freeform sculpting with the clay, that's probably why I like it the most because I'm not really constrained by too much. I mean, I don't have to worry about how am I going to make a mold out of this. I can just go crazy.
Yeah, don't have
So,
to worry about it, and that's like the piece I'm working on right now. I don't have to worry about because I'm don't intend to cast it. I don't even know. It would just be a pain in the butt to cast. So, um,
wait till somebody offers you enough money for a couple copies of
well, okay, then it's
it.
this is gonna be challenging at that point. I'll say that, but maybe. I've got a Cthulhu dice box that I've been working on, and it's challenging enough. But yeah, we'll it was done, because when you get those tentacles going and you want to make it look really cool, you have you have the tentacles wrapping back in on itself, and it's like, well, that's going to cause a real problem when it comes to pulling it.
Yeah, yeah. I've been watching your Cthulhu chess thing. He's quite cool.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Pull up the next slide. Let's take a look.
That's one of my earliest
Ah,
cast pieces that I actually did well with. Um, didn't really have any air bubbles in him. I actually think I sold the mold till he fell apart finally,
that is fantastic.
and he was about I don't know 5 inches tall, I guess. And
Oh, so fun. That
his
is
arms
really.
and his wings were separate, and that was it.
Um, have you ever considered doing anything on Kickstarter? So, like, you know, putting it on Kickstarter and see what happens? Because I know I have several friends that have done Kickstarter with their Cthulhu pieces, and Kickstarter fandom seems to really like that. This guy seems like it would be a really fun one to try.
I have thought about it. I haven't done it yet, but I've got several Cthulhu pieces kind of percolating right now. The knife is actually just the newest idea. I actually had another kind of ceremonial dagger that he's just in a monster clay form right now, so he may get reworked. And he's more of a tentacle-y wand. And then I had an idol, my version of an idol that I was working on, but I think he's going to get scrapped entirely. The longer he sits, the less I like him. But I've thought about maybe trying something like that with Kickstarter, something that, I can go a little crazy with without spending it all out of my own funds right away. I mean, and I've seen a lot of people have a lot of good luck on Kickstarter.
Yeah, some crazy luck. It's like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, and I know a couple local artists who do some Kickstarters, and they've been really generous about offering me tips and pointers and ideas if I ever get to that far. But it's probably like you. It's probably finding the time to do everything. So this was actually an original watercolor that I made prints out of. It was actually a 3-piece set. This is some of my flat work.
Yeah.
Um, but this was the piece that actually sold the best out of the 3, so that's the only one that I really kept.
Quite good. I mean, you got you're multi-talented. That's for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I ended up. In fact, I know now that I'm looking at it. The cat and everything was pretty much good to go, but I didn't really like the way the girl had come out, so I ended up reworking her in the computer and then composting them together. So
Yeah, I like it. It looks really nice.
thanks. And that kind of got me started in convention and fandom with the kittens because I do a lot of kitten prints. People think, oh, he loves soft, fluffy kittens, which I do, but I love stuff like, big, dark, horrible Cthulhu actually much
Oh
better.
man, this is really, really fascinating here.
And that's another cast piece that I sold until the mold fell apart on me. And this was they used to have this really nice bronze paint that you could patina, and it's a lot harder to find now than it used to be. But it makes for a really nice old looking finish.
So this is paint. This is not cold cast bronze?
No, I have not had any luck with cold cast bronze other than making my resin look brown. I can't get the shine out of it. I don't know if it's because they're pressure casting or what, but I cannot get
Um, the
shine.
secret the secret is you you take a dry brush and you dip it into the powdered bronze, and then you coat that into your mold,
Mm-hmm.
and then you mix up your batch of cold cast bronze resin and bronze powder, and pour that. Then when you pull it, yes, it will be brown, but then you've got to go over it with fine steel wool, and just really keep going and buffing up the edges and all the rest of it. That will take it into a shine, but it still doesn't look right until you put on some black shoe polish, and then the contrast happens like this. So,
God,
but I love
I
the paint job on this. This is even better than just cold cast bronze.
yeah, because I have one piece that I almost got the bronze look on, but I guess I just didn't buff it long enough with the steel wool.
I have taken on occasion. I've done it with a Dremel tool and as little buffing leather sander things. That
Yeah.
um, don't have anyone handy right now, but that
Well, I've
that
seen a lot.
sometimes works
Yeah,
if you
a lot
don't
of
get
your
too aggressive with it.
a lot of your pieces you do in a bronze look, which I think they come out really nice. Some of your jewelry pieces and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
the really small jewelry pieces, it's actually bronze, but the bigger like door knockers and stuff are the cold cast bronze. But this is absolutely beautiful. I love right there on the design on the back, where right there by the tentacles there's this. It looks like. Um, you've got a design in there that just draws the eye. It's just really fascinating.
oh yeah, the little squiggly bits. Yeah,
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
technical term, squiggly bits.
yeah. I'm loving it. That's really great.
Thank you.
The
And
design
how's that?
looks. It has that. Uh, what's the opposite of symmetry? It's
Asymmetry?
yeah, asymmetry. Yeah, uh, just really really cool.
And this was actually a pretty successful mold. So for as much detail as it had, it actually cast pretty well because it's just flat on the back, so it's just a one piece mold. So that made it nice.
Yeah, but I'm seeing, like there's a tentacle there that I think I see goes all the way around. I mean,
I think
yeah.
I had to slice that. I think I just put a little slice in the rubber there, and
Well,
it
that
went
is
pop around.
that is fantastic.
Now, mind you, it didn't hold up very long because probably of some of that, but it held up long enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you ever get a large number out of silicone molds. I mean, I have gotten my go-to number is 30, and if I go over that, then I'm really really happy. But I find that time it gets up close to 50, the mold itself starts to dry out uh,
Mm.
and get brittle.
Do you post cure your mold? Do you post cure your molds?
You mean like set them in the oven to vulcanize them or whatever? I no, I don't. But
Yeah, neither do I. I keep reading that you're supposed to do that, but I've really never done that. So
no, I don't know if that would extend that where it wouldn't, be so brittle. But I don't know.
I think I tried it once and I didn't really notice a whole lot of difference, but I'm not notoriously patient, so
Oh man, this guy is cruel. Oh
yeah,
my god, that's really cool.
did a whole little series of Cthulhu guys in formal settings,
I
kind of
love it.
formal Victorian settings. So that was Admiral Cthulhu there.
Wow. You have a lot in common with another sculptor that I ran into down in Dragon Con, Mark Helwig. He has a real sense of humor like this too. I love it.
Thank you. I'm really bad. I know a lot of artists, but I know them by their work more than their name.
Yeah, Mark does. He has a one where he has a Cthulhu dressed up like Santa Claus, and there's a reindeer, and
I've seen that piece. That is an awesome piece.
yeah, he has a twisted sense of humor.
Hey, we all have to have our and there's Professor Natharo Hotep.
Oh my gosh, that's great. The red eyes and the way you've treated this is just fantastic. Uh,
And these were both all digital pieces. This was, when I was first starting to really get into doing everything in the computer.
Making me want to paint again.
Um, because it's funny, when I paint in the computer, for the most part, I paint just like I do on a canvas. But in the computer, I have this handy dandy undo tool for when I screw up, which I
Yeah.
don't have on a canvas.
When you're working on a computer, do you do it off of a graphics tablet or just with a mouse, or how you doing it?
I actually have a little small Wacom tablet, which I used to use all the time. But then at my previous job, I would work during lunch for shows and during slow times for shows,
Mm-hmm.
and all I had was a mouse. So then I got really used to using a mouse. So actually, I've had trouble going back to the Wacom tablet regularly. It's like I'm just used to the mouse now. But I do both ways. I mean, I would suggest if you're just starting out to use a Wacom tablet because it's pressure sensitive. But yeah, you can get used to anything.
Yeah, it's true. You can get used to it. I mean, I'm so familiar with the mouse that because I started way back in like '84 or '85, I think was my first Mac. But if only I had all that money back that I spent on all those computers. I had 23 computers over the course of time.
That's a lot of computers.
Yeah. Well, I used to run a print shop, a graphic design print shop, whatever.
Hmm.
And if we were in a big city, I would have probably been successful. I did that for 17 years. Um,
Ah, yeah. Well, I think you're pretty darn successful now. I think you found your calling.
well, I definitely feel, this is the life. I feel so privileged. Oh my gosh, that is great. Wow. Love that, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was one of my very first kittens doing goofy things prints. And those are still my best sellers, are my kittens doing goofy things.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean, what's not to like? Wow.
yeah, I have them dressed in costumes now, like Darth Vader and Firefly and all kinds of fun little things like that.
You've got the anatomy down too. It's like that forepaw there on the butterfly fairy is just fantastic.
Thank you.
You can see the muscle, and because that's sometimes very difficult to do when you're trying to deal with a black cat. Um, I've done it, but it's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, I think it comes down to years of practice. And that's where my sculpting has really helped with me too, because you know, I sculpted animals probably almost as the same amount as I've sculpted monsters and weird things. So, I know in my head how these things foreshorten and how they're all connected just from all the sculpting I've done of them over the years. So that's kind of helped out.
Oh, when my little dogs were alive, I was always going like, come here, let me take a look at you. And here's how this leg works, you know.
Yeah, they're handy.
And that'll translate into anything. That'll translate into a dragon or whatever you're trying to work on. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, and I like the how many humans has he zapped?
Yeah, see, this was a piece that I thought was going to be screamingly popular, and it really wasn't.
Really?
Story of my life, the pieces that I just absolutely love, because this one still cracks me up. It just ended up not being popular at all.
Oh, I find that very hard to believe. I mean, this is cool looking and funny, you know, at the same time, and I like that a lot.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do.
Very cool.
But yeah, I thought, yeah, this one's going to sell like hotcakes.
Well, you know, uh, there's been a lot of things like that for me too. You know, where I thought, damn, this is going to be, you know, it's going to work really good, and then lo and behold, nothing. Yeah.
It's always the pieces that I like the most that seem to be the least popular, which I've never understood, but it always kind of irritates me.
Yeah, me too. You know, it's like, hmm. Every once in a while, every decade or so, I come up with an idea that actually works, and then I'm really, really pleased.
Yeah, I come up with the idea and then I try to duplicate it endlessly.
Yes.
So this was a one of a kind Cthulhu blank notebook that I made. And I just found a journal that was this size with handmade paper in it, and then I just decorated up the surface also. It's kind of my version of the Necronomicon.
So now you did this with epoxy putty.
Epoxy putty, yeah, and then I went online and found a place that sold these old locks and stuff.
Uh huh.
I made a
And
little pin.
yeah, that lock is perfect.
Yeah, that actually probably took almost as long to find as anything else that I did for this project, was trying to find the lock and the latch.
Yeah, that is absolutely perfect for this project. Oh, I see a little furry friend back there.
Oh yeah, and she went. And out she went.
Yeah.
Our newest pooch.
Nice dragon.
Yeah, I have some things that I would change on him if I were to do him again, but I think I was playing with digital textures a lot in this particular piece. You know, the Photoshop in scales as opposed to painting them all one at a time like a crazy person.
Oh yeah, yeah. But sometimes, you know, oh, that this is the piece that I remember. That I must, I'm pretty sure that you had this or something similar to it way back when we first met.
Yeah, this one is from about 2009. And other than after the kitten with the fairy, I did this one just on a whim because steampunk had just really gotten big right then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I had, discovered the wheel and marketed it. People would just love this little dude.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to duplicate it and make that success quite again.
So that was your once in a decade, and
Once
like,
in a decade, yep.
he's great, and it has a lot of appeal. I can just see that would, you know, because there's so many cat lovers out there that they just go nuts over anything that has a cat in it. And this has double the appeal with that steampunk going on.
Yeah, the cat lovers are one of my big customer bases, so I still do a lot of kitten pictures. Little one of a kind clay dragon.
Cool. Yeah. Man, I got to try some of this clay and bake it in the kiln.
Yeah, like I said, it's fun to work with. It's a little brittle, well, as far as shipping and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's fun.
Ooh, nice.
That was me trying to be loose and subtle and underplayed. Not really anything subtle about it, but it's pretty loose.
I find it very difficult for me personally to loosen up and to just sketch or to. I always want to take it to a different level.
Yeah, I do the same thing. It's like I look at my sketches, and it's like, well, my sketch was really good, had a lot of life to it. Then I painted it and kind of screwed it all up.
Yeah, that's happened to me multiple times. But this looks good. I like it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun just slopping paint on and seeing what I came up with.
Oh man, good mashup. Good play with the killer whales and the what yeah. This is
I had
awesome.
a lot of fun in that one.
Oh, man, that is nice. I like the way the water is being, the ripples on his back there. I like all of that.
Yeah, that was the trickiest part of the whole thing, was figuring out how to get the ripples on there. Because water is really hard to paint.
Oh yeah. And this is digital, or is this?
This is digital. Yeah, most of the. Like I said, I almost work almost exclusively digitally anymore. Every once in a while, I get a wild hair and do something on an actual canvas, but I'm addicted to the undo button.
Yeah, and almost always on Photoshop, or do you have other favorite apps?
I use a Photoshop for most painting, and a lot of the masking and stuff I'll do. I'll actually do an Illustrator, just to use Illustrator every day, so I'm really used to how the tools work. So yeah, combination between Illustrator and Photoshop.
So I guess you would do your line work in Illustrator, then bring it over into Photoshop, and then finish up with everything.
Yeah.
Have you tried working with Affinity Photo? And they have another thing that the Affinity Design, I think, is their Illustrator type of program. But these programs are really, really cheap. Not cheap in the design. They're full capable apps that compete nicely with Photoshop, but they're only $24 a piece.
Oh, that's the way to go if you don't have access, because Photoshop, like, I actually have access to all of these through. Originally, I got them through my original job, and then I bought my own version, which I still have. But yeah, if I was starting from scratch now, there's no way I could touch Photoshop or else. Because even this, they're on a subscription now, but it's like,
yeah,
$40 or $50 a month to subscribe to it.
I think you can get them all of Adobe's suite for $55 a month, something like that. But that's every month. I mean, you're going to be paying that, and or you can just go out to and get a copy of the Affinity Photo, and you can do. I would say there's 98% of what Photoshop does is in Affinity Photo.
Yeah, I mean probably definitely the way to go if you're just you don't have, like I said, since I currently have access to it, I'm not that you know worried about it because I probably only use 10% of what Photoshop can do. I mean, a lot of the stuff Photoshop does isn't anything that I actually play with that much. I
Yeah,
just
there is a lot of bells and whistles in Photoshop.
I played with Corel Paint when it first came out, and that was a nice program too. But Photoshop has kind of gotten most of the things that Painter could do, they could do now. So,
Yeah.
well, he's really
Uh,
red.
yeah. Cool. I like it. I like the pattern. It's like really nice on the pattern.
I feel like maybe I had just seen Star Wars with Darth Maul,
Oh yeah. Okay.
which wouldn't surprise me. I get subconsciously influenced by stuff I watch all the time.
Yeah, and have you ever had that experience where you think that what you're working on is absolutely an original and then later find out, oh, golly, I was really, really influenced and I just forgot about this other thing?
Yeah, not intentionally, but I have done it accidentally. Absolutely.
I think it happens quite a bit to artists. I could be wrong, but it seems like it's happened to me on more than one occasion, and absolutely no intent on trying to copy somebody's work, but just subconsciously it gets embedded in your brain, and then later you forget about it, and then you go to do something, and it seems like inspiration. But
Yeah, it just kind of pops out.
yeah,
So, yeah. So, like, I know a lot of people listen to music when they're working. Do you listen to music, or do you have another, or do you just?
yeah, and that's the one thing I'm really missing when I do the Twitch broadcast. As I like to listen to music, although you can have some music playing on Twitch and it works out okay. Um, but what I really like is listening to a book and
Mm,
and just getting really, really involved in the story, and then I forget what my hands are doing. I mean, that's not quite right, but I mean, you get what I'm trying to say. It
yeah,
just your
I'll
hands
have,
just keep going.
I'll have to try that because I generally tend to put on the TV, but it has to be something that I've seen a lot before, so I don't get distracted by it.
Right? Yeah. Same here.
Um, I think it's because I was a single man for a long time, so I'd be down in the basement. It was kind of like a dungeon. So, like if I had the TV on, it wasn't like I was down there all by myself all the time. I had like some people hanging out with me.
Yeah, and that I mean I have a TV in here in the studio, and then I do watch some things on the TV. But I agree with you. It has to be something that. Oh man, that was a cool one. It has to be something that I'm really, really familiar with, and I don't have to look up to see what's going on.
Yeah, I've made the mistake of having Lord of the Rings on before, and I'm pretty good with that until they get to the Battle of Helm's Deep, and then I end up cranking my head up and I lose however much time that is watching that.
Man, I really like the way your dragons look.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a couple little uh, tricks that I use a lot. Like I've watched you sculpt, and you just fascinate me because you sculpt all of your scales one at a time.
Yeah, I yeah, I'm kind of a nut when it comes to
And
that.
me, I like do the big scales, like up here along the chest and all the big details. I do one at a time, and then like I'll mix some smaller ones in one at a time. But then I have a lot of handmade stamping tools with different textures that I use to fill in, like all the little bits and pieces across here. I can fill those in fast. So I make my own little texture tools just to speed things along, which works pretty well for me. But yeah, I mean, I watch you do this. Like, wow, he's doing those all one at a time. He's a crazy man.
Well, it's kind of like a channeled OCD, and I don't really mind all that much. It's just something that, but I do like the way it comes out, looking
Oh
where
yeah.
it's like really clean cut. Um, I have seen others who do a pattern where they'll draw diagonal lines on the subject, and then they'll go back and push for the scales.
Hmm.
That works out okay. In fact, I've done a couple of things like that. My most recent dragon dice holder, I did like that. But for the most part, I do like putting down one scale at a time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with my stamps is I have to keep them clean and I have to sharpen them a lot. So I have to take them out to the garage with the Dremel tool and put new edges on them because they just eventually get worn down. It's like, no, that's not as clean as I want. And then, like I said, I always like to top them off with individual ones so it's just not one big pattern of the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, that helps a lot. Hey, somebody joined us in the chat. That's great.
Hello.
Yeah, shout out to us. So if you have a question, just go ahead and ask away. Thanks for joining us. We're looking at Jim's work, and this is like fantastic dragon here. Now this is not cast, is it, or was it?
No, this was a one of a kind of. Yeah, I should have some pictures of cast pieces someplace, but so far there's only been a couple pieces that were cast. I always send at least one or two original pieces when I send to a show,
Uh huh.
so they have original pieces.
Oh, you
Uh,
do better than I do. I usually just send everything that's replicated. I don't think I've ever sent any originals away.
yeah, I actually that's not entirely true. Of the last not this year obviously, but the year before, I think I was sending a lot of cast pieces because I was finally having had some good molds with a lot of stuff you shared with me on how to make them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do like shipping the resin pieces because they don't break unless somebody drives over the car or over the box, so they're a lot easier to ship.
Yeah, for the most part. Every once in a while, I end up with some broken pieces, but I'm not sure if that happened in transit or at the show, maybe. But who knows?
So,
It's replicated at that point. It's like, okay, I could
yeah,
replace it. I'm not
and
happy, but
your pieces are larger than most of the ones I'm sending. I'm sending little 2 and 3 inch high miniatures for the most part.
oh yeah.
But like I said, I always try to I try to stick at least one original. So this was a gargoyle eating an old cell phone. Had it laying around, didn't have anything to do with it, so I figured why not?
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, Cindy Johnson says, "Hi from Oregon. You were recommended by a friend." Well, thanks for the recommendation, friend. And welcome,
Hello.
welcome, Cindy. Jim. These pieces were done with clay and then fired in the kiln, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Uh,
yeah,
the, yeah. And then this one was just trying to make sure that everything when I sculpted it would more or less fit all the foam pieces in afterwards.
yeah, because you can't fire the foam pieces in the kiln. You end up with a bunch of melted goo.
Yeah, and you can't bend the clay after the fact, so.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, this is the piece I seen earlier. Yeah, wow, that looks really good.
Yeah, this has got some little one of a kind epoxy putty, I think, on a sliced piece of rock, and then it's got some little watch bits in it for the kind of the steampunk look.
Oh, that is nice.
And I think I'm seeing a little piece of string on here, so I'm thinking it was just designed to hang as a dream catcher in a window.
Oh, yeah, that would work. Or you could make it into a necklace, pendant.
Yeah, you'd have to like really big pieces because I think it was about that big across, about 3.5 inches across.
I've done some pieces like that, and then you'd be surprised that there's a whole group of individuals that like those big pendants. But yeah, that would be beautiful as. Hey, Air Laser. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we'll lurk away. She says, just stopped in to say hi. I'm editing videos, so I can't stay. Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
We're looking at Jim's work. This is a Cthulhu piece again.
Got a little deep one, squiggle monster. Yeah, I do a lot of Cthulhu pieces, I'm realizing.
Well, I do too, and I find it really fun to do.
Yeah, one of my favorite monsters.
Air Laser says, big pendants can be cute. I love Pandad's dragon heart necklace. Thank you. And Air Laser says, hi, Jim.
Hi.
Oh, this dragon is awesome.
This is an idea that I go back to now and again. The combination 3D flat work thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I really like that.
And I had done a couple of them that I have pictures of in here that we'll see shortly. Not in any particular order, but I really enjoy doing stuff like this. How it, kind of gives you the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just looking at. I'm thinking this one is actually epoxy putty.
So when you're saying epoxy putty, is it the Avis epoxy sculpt, or is it Magic Sculpt, or what?
It's usually Magic Sculpt or Epoxy Sculpt. Kind of depends on which one I buy. I actually forget they're two different things, so I'll get on Amazon. I'll just because I think they work about the same.
Yeah, they work about the same. A Magic Sculpt, I think you can, if you go with the big containers, it's a bit cheaper. And the only thing that I can see that's different in their texture is maybe Epoxy Sculpt buffs up or burnishes up a bit better. Cindy Johnson says, so what are you using to sculpt with? Well, part of it we just answered. It was epoxy sculpt. It's a two-part substance you mix together, and it begins to cure as soon as you mix it together. And you have a work window of about, what would you say, Jim, about an hour or hour and a half?
Hour and a half, yeah, before it starts getting too firm to really do much with.
But what other materials do you use too?
I use epoxy sculpt. I use regular old water-based clay that you can fire in a kiln. I will occasionally use super sculpting. So it's probably my least favorite, not because it actually works really well. It's just I find it to be less durable than either of the other two.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm shipping a lot of stuff, I prefer to have it arrive in one piece when possible.
Have you tried cosplay yet?
No, I have seen that and I've wanted to try it because it's flexible, right?
Right, yes. It's flexible after it's baked. And not a tremendous amount of flexibility, but enough that if it's bumped or something, it won't break on you.
Yeah.
I think
that's one of my next lists to try, or next things to try.
Let's see. Oh, I got to get a camera up if anybody's gonna see this. Um, just a little picture. But the head of this guy was done with that cosplay. So you can feel it has some give. There's like that horn, see? So I don't know if
Yeah,
it just
that'd be more than enough to survive shipping. So
yeah. So I'm kind of the only thing I didn't like about the cosplay um, is that it is a little stickier than what I would. I mean, it leaves a kind of a residue on your hands. It's not like super sculpting. It's a little bit more gritty.
gotcha.
Air Laser
Yeah, I mean,
says, Air Laser says, does Jim have any fae or mermaid art? I think. Do you have any mermaid art?
um, possibly, but I don't know if I have it on this particular album.
Can you show her that one cat with the fairy, the butterfly fairy that's squashed? How about that, Air Laser? Oh, look at the little kitten. He's so cute.
I've got that one here, and I've got this one.
Now, Jim, are these available on your website? Can she go there and purchase?
Um, I think this one actually sold out. This one, if it's not on my website, she can contact me through my website and ask about it. But there's actually more stuff on my website that is in this little album. I've turned my nieces into fairies. So, problem is I have so much stuff that I kind of just grabbed a few things. But there is tons of stuff hidden all over the place.
So yeah, Air Laser. If you want to go to his website, which is I should have had that up already.
Jim, or it's humblestudios.com.
Humblestudios.com. Give me a second, and I'll post it.
Oh, thank you.
There we go. Humblestudios.com. Let me copy. And now back to the chat. There we go. And Air Laser says, neat. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Um,
this was another 3D flat piece combo.
yeah, and with the gargoyle in the background, that's cool. All right, Air Laser, back to lurking. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, he's
Just a
cool.
little
Yeah.
steampunk cigar chomping gargoyle.
You could do a mashup of Wolverine and Gargoyle.
I actually have an idea that as soon as I work out the details, I'm going to be offering online for some custom portrait mashups. So,
Yeah.
work out all the details. I'll start posting some information about that shortly.
Now, all of these are wall hangings, right?
Yeah, these are all wall hangings, and part of the reason is when I'm sculpting in water-based clay in particular, the wall hangings, people have a lot more wall space than they do desk space, but it's also a lot easier to support something that's not standing on legs.
Mm-hmm.
So I can make them a lot faster because they don't have to support their own weight.
Oh,
So I don't have
yeah.
I'm not building an armature or anything like that. Now, I do have, let's see this guy here. Click back out of here so I can see where I'm pointing. I have this guy here that is,
Hang
he
on.
started out,
Let me see if I can get him. No, not me. There you go. Okay. Now I got you on the main screen.
so he
Wow.
started out as a demo at a convention, just the head. And he's
Ooh, a big beastie.
barely freestanding.
No armature in this?
No, I just sculpted him solid and then sliced him into chunks and hollowed him out after he dried up a little bit.
Wow.
So you can see on the bottom, he's just hollowed out.
Wow, Jim. Man.
So, and then the wife decided, she says, no, he's mine. You cannot sell him. I like him. He's going to sit next to our fireplace.
Yeah, my wife does a lot of that too. It's like, oh, come on.
Well, it's only fair considering that I gave her a gargoyle for a Christmas present one year. And then a couple of years later, I forgot that it was her Christmas present, and I sent it to a convention and sold it.
Hey, now, how did you do the eyes on that one? Is that painted or is that?
Um, yeah, those are just painted eyes. I sculpted a little pupil hole in there, but those are just painted eyes.
Well, those are look really great.
Thank you. I have done. I do in my little cast resin pieces of animals and stuff, which I'll find eventually. I have them set up to hold certain size glass eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I made my own glass eyes out of, which I know you do as well, which have this eerie way of following people around. Something about the optics in.
Yeah, that the curvature of the glass, and you get this flat image on the back, and what happens is it distorts the image on the back as you walk across it. It just seems like that iris is just following you right around.
Which is kind of a cool, fun little thing.
I saw a different way of doing eyes too the other day, um, where the guy had sculpted in Super Sculpey, and then he painted the eye, and then he took 5 minute epoxy and clear epoxy and mixed it up, and then dropped it onto the eye and let it just kind of settle out over the top of it. And daggone if that didn't look really, really convincing.
Yeah, I used to do that with some of my painted eyes that I wanted to be real realistic, because I'd make the rest of the piece more of a flat or semi-gloss, and then I'd like a see or something super high gloss clear on it to really give them that shine.
Yeah, I just there's all kinds of tricks out there. Uh, the easiest way is just how we've been doing the eyes, where we print out a sheet from Photoshop and then glue that glass cabochon on top, and then gives it that distort. But this epoxy method made me want to try it.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of videos for actually making your own eyes that just look absolutely like a real eyeball. It's like, that's crazy.
I saw a cosplayer who did who went to the uh, hobby shop and bought one of these clear domes that they use for Christmas ornaments, and you can put stuff in them, and all that stuff. So she had this clear dome, and she sculpted an iris, and she painted the iris, and then she put that inside the clear dome, and so it had had that effect on her cosplay. It was the most gorgeous eye I think I've ever seen. It was
Cool.
really, really something just for cosplay. I mean, it just blew my socks off. It was really
Yeah,
good.
I've seen some really cool stuff for cosplay, and it's like, wow, you guys have some really cool materials that I want to play with and see how they work.
I all the time I'm always distracted by stuff, and I know you are too. It's like you see something, and it's like, whoa, down that rabbit hole we'll go.
Yep. Work schmirk. I want to play with this new way to do things.
That EVA foam stuff. I'm always watching the EVA foam people. Man, they make some really great stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking about making an EVA Cthulhu sword to send to a convention.
Yeah, man, be really cool. It's easier than yeah I thought it was going to be, but in some respects it takes a lot more time than I thought it would, and a lot of fun.
I
This
could.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I could see how. Yeah. Oh, that should be easy. Well, that's not as easy as I thought it was gonna be.
No, I made Arya's spear. So I did a dragon glass spear, 2 points on either side, and did this staff weapon and did the wrap with all EVA foam, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work too. Painted up really really well.
Cool.
This guy's painted up really well. I love the blue on this. This is nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Now,
like to play with metallic colors when I'm painting my dragons, just to give them a little bit of a shimmer.
have yeah, I love the metallic colors. And what brand was this? Was it the Art Deco brand or the Dazzling Metallics, or do you remember?
I think these ones, or at least in this area here, I think is actually metallic powder that I got years ago, and I just still have a lot of it. I don't really remember what brand it was. I generally use Liquitex or Grumbacher when I'm buying paints, but I also use the little, 99-cent pre-mixed tube. So I'm pretty all over the place. I don't really have a favorite as far as paints. It's like, what color do I have, or do they have that I might want to use?
Yeah, I'm all over the paint place too. I mean, there's nothing that I, it's whatever happens to meet my eye at that point. I've
Yeah,
I purchased a bunch of. Let's see if you even have it here. I purchased a bunch of this color shifting paint. I haven't tried it yet,
oh, I saw that. I wanted to play with that too.
but there's like all kinds of really neat color shifting things that happen with it. This is Folk Art brand.
Yeah, I
Wait,
use one.
right there.
I think I actually played with a little bit of that. Biggest thing I noticed is you have to have a fairly large area to really get that shift going,
Uh huh.
or move it around a lot. But yeah, it's cool stuff. That folk art stuff that's cool stuff.
I'll get to eventually opening up that stuff and painting something with it. Oh, I love the peacock thing here. Oh, that's nice. And
Yeah, so
again, with the picture frame background, that's a good idea.
yeah, I haven't done these in a while, so I'll have to break that out again and do them. I actually have a cast piece that's kind of this idea, but it ends up taking longer for me to paint than I'd like it to. So I like the idea of having a preset background in there that I can have done in the computer that I can drop in rather than having to paint each background section by hand.
So you're saying that you send out a lot of these to the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what what is your favorite show?
Um, Probably my favorite show is probably Starfest, which is local, so I always go to it. Um, it's one of the biggest shows in Denver,
Hmm.
just as far as for people showing up. So there's always a lot of people there, and I do really well. And then my other show that I haven't been to yet, but I like it because I do really well, is San Diego Comic Con. But that's one of those shows that just you have to buy your tickets a year in advance, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Have you done the pop culture one there? I guess it used to be Comic Con there in Denver, but now it's gone to pop culture.
No, I haven't done that. I generally avoid Comic Cons, other than San Diego, because they don't generally have an art show. They have an artist alley,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of locks me into working all
Uh,
weekend. Which I know that's what you do. Um, I kind of generally avoid that because it's like, yeah, I want to screw around and go play.
well, it does wear you out. I mean, people think that you when you're vending at a show that it must be just as fun as going to a show. Well, there is some fun that happens, but you got to remember that those artists are there all day long, and your face feels like it's going to crack because you've been smiling so much, and you've talked so much that you just get so exhausted at the end of the day. When you think, well, I'm going to go out with my friends and have dinner or something, oh, you're too tired.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, working a booth is just a lot of work.
We did 26 shows last year. So that was a booth. That was a show every other weekend.
I think I mailed to about 20 shows last year. I usually mail to about 15 to 20 shows a year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I have a friend who mails to like 50 shows a year.
I used to mail very heavily. I was probably up in the neighborhood of 50 or better in mail-ins, but I have cut back since to just my favorite ones where I feel like I do really well at.
Yeah, well, especially since you go to so many shows as well. My friend, it's the same thing. It's his entire living, so he has to mail to all the shows. I still have side regular jobs, so I don't have quite as much time to mail off to shows and get stuff ready. But I figure 20-ish is pretty good.
But are you tempted to make it a full-time thing? Or do you want to make it a full-time thing? Or
Some days, then other days, I like that I can just relax a little bit and be able to make art that I want to sell everything. And quite honestly, most of this stuff that you've seen on the computer screens is gone. I no longer own it. But since it's not my only source of income, it gives me a little bit of flexibility to really, take the chance to do some crazy crap that might take 2 or 3 years to sell,
mm-hmm.
or some really large piece that might take a long time to sell. So it depends on the day, how horrible work has been that day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, some of these pieces, like the piece I'm working on right now, I'll probably have maybe 150 to 200 hours into it. It's got to be pricey. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. It's just it'll be pricey, and I may hang on to it forever, but it's certainly fun doing. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you got to have that for your creative outlet. You got to be able to have the means, hopefully, to do a piece that's just for you. And if it sells, cool. If it doesn't, well, such is life.
Yeah, this is the piece that I wouldn't be able to do it at all right now, because if I was in the show circuit right now, it would just be one show after another, and keeping up with the production of it all. No time to sculpt a big piece like this with 150, 200 hours into it. There just wouldn't be any time for it. But because of the pandemic, things have changed a little bit, and I have free time to sculpt, and then I'm doing it all on Twitch. So,
Yeah, I mean, when you do the regular show circuit, I'm like, I don't know how Dave makes enough product to stay in product. I mean, you do so many shows, I have no idea. Even with cast pieces, I have no idea how you can produce that much stuff and not just be completely exhausted and falling down asleep at a booth.
We got a bunch of chat going here. Julie Kohler says hi, and she loves the
Julie.
pieces. Um, Cindy says, very nice. I work in leather and I can see your art on coats and purses. Which, yeah, you could do little pieces on coats and purses. Um, Julie
Yeah.
Kohler says, I never achieved that level of convention zen. Yeah. Um, Shows are hard, says Cindy. And Julie says, adding family to the workload is a recipe for burnout. And Cindy says, with COVID-19, are you doing shows? Well, no. No, we're. No. I don't think I have a single show for the rest of the year. It's all gone. So
Yeah,
for me, that's about 80% of my income. Zip, gone.
there. A couple shows are trying to do some virtual things. We've got a local guild that's doing a weekly virtual sale, but yeah, conventions per se, no, yeah, those are done for right now, and who knows when they're going to come back.
Yeah, even because they're talking about next year, and I've had a couple of shows that I did a rollover with, meaning that I left my money with them in hopes of doing a show next year. Those were the Gen Con and Dragon Con and the big ones. Um, but there's no guarantee. We may come to this time next year and no shows again. So
Yeah, let's hope not, but yeah, it
I
could happen.
I hope not, but realistically, uh, a lot depends on the efficacy of the vaccine, and that's still up in the air. Uh, Julia says ArtStation store maybe. I haven't tried the ArtStation. Have you?
No, I haven't tried it. The downside of not doing this full time is that I don't spend as much time online trying to sell it as I should. So I basically have my web store. But yeah, I know I have a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that do it on Etsy and they do fairly well. I know people that do it on eBay and do fairly well. I've heard of the Art Station. I don't even know that I've actually looked at the Art Station, so I might have to look into that one.
Yeah, me too. That's a good suggestion, Julia. What
Yeah.
about? Do you have a mailing list that you do emails to, or a newsletter, or anything like that?
I have tried to get my emailing up to snuff. I'm really my own worst enemy as far as the marketing goes. I really am. So, but yeah, I'm trying to update my email so that I can start sending out a more consistent list. Newsletter, no, haven't really done a newsletter. I'm not really sure what I would put in a newsletter at this point in time. I've thought about the Patreon thing, but then I have to sit down and think what I can do consistently to make it fair to the patrons. Because I don't want to just okay, so for 3 months now I haven't done anything. Sorry about that. That wouldn't be good. So
Well, I feel like I'm spinning a bunch of plates. I'm a plate spinner, and I got one going over here, and then I'm trying to keep all the rest of them spinning at the same time, and it's very, very challenging. I do have a Patreon, but and I'm trying to do sculpts that are only available on Patreon. So I've got a couple of them done, which is the Ego and the Sorrowful, the Dragon. But and I'm not going to release those two any other way. So it's going to be Patreon only. And then I'm trying to put videos there. But man, I get what you mean. It's like that's a commitment. It's a big commitment, and you hope that it pays off, but no
yeah,
guarantees. I talked last night with Ed Bear Jr., and he is shifting his entire video um, production over to Patreon only. So he's not going to do Facebook anymore. He's not going to do YouTube. Um, I don't think he ever did Twitch, but he's shifting everything over into Patreon. And this is a guy that had built his business up over 30 years, going to the con circuit, with Renaissance fairs and Comic Cons and gaming conventions. He was hit hard, as hard as I was hit, and if not harder, because he had real estate in the Renaissance fairs. And man, but he's trying his best, and I applaud him. So give him a shout out. Check him out, Ed Beard Jr. He has some fantastic art too.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can really do is do your best. Like I said, I'm the pandemic I was actually kind of luckier than a lot of people because I did keep my regular job, so I didn't get hit nearly as hard as a lot of my artist friends did. So, like you and a bunch of people locally and a bunch of people across the country, Teresa Mather, Perry Charlotte, they all got, their money all came, like you, entirely from the convention circuit one way or the other.
Right, yeah.
So now they're all like selling online, trying to sell stuff online, and they're having some success, but it's nowhere near the success that they were having.
Well, thank goodness some folks have gone over to shopping online. I mean, it hasn't been a desert completely, so I'm still hanging on to a bit of sales, but for the most part, yeah, it's way different. We had our best year last year, and then this year is like going to be the worst year. even badder than when I first started. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's hard to make money when you can't get in front of people in some way. And I think the biggest problem with online is just there's just so many people online. It's trying to find an effective way, which I don't know, to get your voice heard.
That's what I feel like with all the virtual cons. It feels like I'm trying to take a drink of water from a water fountain, from a fire hydrant, and I just got all of these things coming at me faster than I can keep up with. Yeah, go back to my plate spinning analogy. But at least I'm staying busy. I'm staying busy during this time. I mean, I put in a full work week, much to Kat's dismay. She doesn't like me to work this much, but I get bored, so I got to keep going. Julia says, I think the needed shift is going to be upping the social media game. Yes, I agree. Just it takes time, takes effort. That's why I did the Patreon thing in the first place, and I also did Twitch. You got to try that out, man. There's a sculptor on Twitch that I've been following, Christopher Notbush. I'd never, because he doesn't go to the shows at all, none, and he makes his entire living off of Twitch, and I cannot believe this guy's skill level. I mean, it is crazy good. So if you want to turn on some good sculpting fun, try him out. He's on Twitch. It goes by C. Notbush. So yeah, a lot of fun. Julia says, "Oh hey, Behance live stream is in beta 2. Okay, yeah." And there's a lot of really good streaming going on right now. You can multi-stream to Twitch, Behance, and Facebook all at the same time. I think you can. I've looked in a couple of services that do that. I think the ones that I looked at have somewhat of a fee attached to them. But You know, right now, I, Twitch is like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10:30. I do a 4-hour show each day, and it's fun. But and also sculpting, and so as I'm going along, I'm talking and chatting up. What are we looking at here, Jim? At the beginning of a project?
Oh yeah, this is kind of the early phases of a dragon. Let's see if these are in order or not. So yeah, this is pretty much just the bare bones, no detailing. Whoops, not too far. Yeah, so yeah, beginning.
Ooh, yeah.
After he's all sculpted up before he's fired.
Oh, okay. Go back to the first one again. I want to see what the connection.
He's flipped 90 degrees.
Oh, that is it. Okay. Oh, yeah. Now I see it. I see it. Oh, yeah. The 90-degree flip.
Yeah, you can see what my art work area normally looks like.
And no arm. I'm fascinated with no armature in this to keep that chin up. But that's. I guess that's yeah.
Like I said, I used to have, like, back when I was first starting, I would fill them with like a newspaper armature. But like I said, I've been doing this long enough now that I'm pretty good at. Like if I have a little spot that's like underneath the chin or something that's dipping, I'll just stuff a little ball of clay in there till it firms up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can just pop it back out. So,
And this is solid, right? This is not hollow.
no, this is, most of these I actually make hollow.
Really?
Yeah, I start like, I roll out. You can see the little bits of where I've cut it away, but I'll roll out a slab, and then I'll cut a couple notches in it, kind of a U shape for it to hang with, and then I just roll out some other slabs and attach them here and kind of squish them into the shape that I want to start with. So yeah, this whole thing is hollow, so that I don't have to cut it apart afterwards.
Well, that's that. Yeah, that's wow. So what would happen if you did make it solid? You'd have to cut it apart to.
I'd have to cut it in half, hollow it out, otherwise it would almost for sure explode in the kiln.
Okay. All right.
Plus, it would weigh a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the walls about maybe a quarter of an inch thick, give or take. I mean, it's actually all pretty simple shapes to start with, so it's have the slab underneath to attach it to, but then it's just like the neck is just a big tube, and the head's kind of a cylinder.
Wow. I wish we lived closer. But hey, you could do a stream and show step-by-step process. Videoed the whole thing. That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about some kind of streaming. I'm just going through it a little bit at a time.
Offer it up as a class.
Oh, that's an idea.
You could either do a YouTube private invitation thing, or you could do Zoom. You could do your Zoom. There's all kinds of possibilities. Hello, Gabrielle.
So,
New chat
this here's
member.
a good one to see a combination of my handmade one-of-a-kind scales and my little combination of my clay stamps kind of together. I give it that different textures.
So the little tiny areas is clay stamp, but then
Yeah.
in the other areas I can see where you kind of did it my way with balling up and pushing in on the clay.
Yep.
I always like the way you do the chest mantle piece. It's just like the armature there, the scales on those are really nice looking.
Oh, thank you. It's one of the most fun parts, I think.
Julia says, I thought I was talented until I saw Jim at work. Yeah, he's a master. No doubt about it.
Oh, Julia, I know you're talented. I've seen your stuff. So, it's more of a little whimsical dragon. I was in the mood to do a couple less fierce ones.
I love your humor. It looks so fun. And the coloring on those teeth and horns, man, that is gorgeous. Paint
Well,
on
my
this.
wife, my wife got me an airbrush that I love, but I don't use it enough because the paint's always clogged. So I'm endlessly trying to find different paints that work better in it. My latest experiment was going to be India inks. So I bought this nice little set of India inks, had them in my truck, and it got so hot that they sat out there for after I went back to work from lunch. I came out, they had actually exploded in the car all over my seat.
Oh man.
Fortunately, they hadn't dried up enough that I was able to clean them off, but I haven't been able to find that set again.
I'm seeing here. I don't like using the airbrush because it clogs up so much. And I've used
Well,
them all. I've used every kind of airbrush. I've used every kind of paint. But if I have to spend, 15 minutes taking the thing apart and putting it back together again to get it to work, uh, I don't know. I'd just rather do it by hand. Just take a dry brush and or maybe a wash or something, and put it on there.
yeah, I do. Most of my painting is done that same way. I do like the look that I get from the airbrush when I do it. Um, my wife actually, or when the airbrush she bought me, I actually got tired of, you know, the way most airbrushes are set up. You have your finger on the top and you pull back and forth, and my hand would cramp up after a while. So I actually got a little trigger spray airbrush. So it's just like pointing a gun.
Oh yeah.
Triggers
So
down so I don't get the hand cramp. Yeah, just
yeah.
like that. So, yeah, so I'm hoping that the India inks will work better for me and I can start playing with that as well. Here's another one.
Oh, and this is gonna be my favorite. Oh my god, I love that. I love that underbite, man.
I think How to Train Your Dragon may have just come out,
Well, yeah, I
but
can
I
see
am
maybe a little bit of influence there, but this is awesome. This is really, really awesome.
a lot of my sculptures have the underbite, so that's apparently a thing that I like. My gargoyles almost always have an underbite.
I've done a few that have an underbite. I have a little mailbox dragon where he's coming out of the mailbox, a mail slot, and I had so much fun making the underbite. It was just so enjoyable.
Oh, you have some stuff that I want to steal so bad it's not even funny, but out
What?
of courtesy, I'm not like your air vent dragon. Oh, that's
Oh,
genius.
oh, that's my one in a decade thought.
I,
maybe once in a lifetime. I don't know.
I'm like, oh, I want to steal that idea so bad.
I've I've worked a little bit on doing a Cthulhu coming through on the air vent, and I've got a couple of other ideas I want to spring out. And now that I've got some time, I guess I'll have to get to it. Oh, I like this guy.
So this was actually a solar lamp here in his hand. Just one of those ones that you buy and you stick in the yard.
Oh yeah.
So you'd hang him outside and he'd light up at night.
Okay, so how does it weather? Do you find it weather's okay when you hang it outside?
Um, the person who bought it hasn't gotten back. Never. I generally tell people not to hang the painted stuff like this outside, or to put it someplace where it's overhung.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I told this, hang it near a light, so a window so the light can get in from the sun. My gargoyles, however, yeah, those can go outside all day long because they're just a stain. So the most. But I always tell people, if you have a problem with something, just let me know and I'll fix it for you. So, but yeah, nobody's ever complained about things weathering or anything like that. In had a few pieces that have fallen off of walls, and I've had to fix for people over the years. But part, yeah.
Oh, hey,
Nobody's-
thanks for joining us, Teresa. Two of my favorite sculptors in one show. Yeah. Well, thank
Hey,
you very.
Teresa.
Thank you.
We were
uh,
just talking to you a little bit earlier.
yeah. This is so. This is something that you would hang on your porch or
Yeah,
some.
yeah. You can see they're all designed to hang just like from a couple nails, but it was confusing some of the people, some of the staff at the art shows on how to hang them. So I started just adding this little wire so it was easier for them to hang. But that's kind of just a temporary wire. Little orc.
Yeah, cool.
He looks a lot friendlier in that picture than he does in person.
Yeah. Well, how big is this piece in person? Is it a
Uh,
big piece or?
he was probably 10 inches from shoulder blade to shoulder, give or take, somewhere in there. So he's not huge. I like to make big pieces every once in a while, but it's harder to move big pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So they just go, and it's really hard to ship a big piece, so those tend to be local only shows. So when I make a great big piece, it tends to sit around for a little bit before I find the right buyer for it. But they are fun to make.
Yeah, they are. I agree. They are very enjoyable. Oh, I like this piece.
Little Iron Giant meets Bender.
Julia says on the former orc, I guess, he looks like my ex. Only kinder. Oh.
Wow!
Ouch.
Yikes!
Oh, this is good one. Oh my goodness. And I guess with now, hey, correct me if I'm wrong. You could take some of this clay after it's baked in the kiln. You could put a candle or something like that inside.
Oh yeah, it's stone. Yeah, I mean I've made outdoor fountains out of them.
Uh huh.
As long as you don't drop it, it's gonna last for centuries. Because I fired all the way up to cone 5. So yeah, you could put it in your fireplace as long as it didn't heat up super fast and cool down super fast. So yeah, you
Wow.
could absolutely put candles on it.
Wow, that gives me another reason to try some clay. Man. Yeah, I've done a couple of things. Like I've done this wall hanging griffin, but I only reproduce it in resin, and so I'm having to use like little tea lights, battery powered tea lights. That works okay, but I'd really like to have a candle or something stuck in there. Yeah, this guy's great. I love your
I'm not
humor.
Not sure what I was thinking when I was making these guys, but they were intentionally simplistic. But they were fun.
Julia says, "What is cone 5?"
That is temperature on a kiln that is about. Perry's probably going to yell at me because I'm going to get the number wrong, but I believe it is 1922 degrees. I think.
Pretty hot.
Pretty hot, yeah.
So that makes the clay even glow like a piece of metal.
Yeah, and what it does is it burns out all the water that's in there, so it becomes completely it becomes stone, so it's completely waterproof after that. So this is the final product from that earlier dragon. This is the paint job that was on it.
This is fantastic, Jim. I like the look of. It looks like crystal. It just like an amethyst crystal.
Oh, thank you.
I love that look, and those teeth are gorgeous. Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Walk me through the painting process on this one. So what'd you start with? What color, base color was it?
It was, and you can see it a bit in here. All of my sculptures almost universally start out with a dark wash where I just dunk the whole thing in water and then just paint it. Usually it's black. And then then I wipe it off, and that's the finish on my gargoyles. It's just that wiped off paint. And then so these will start with the black, and I can see all the details, and then I just go in and more or less dry brush the different colors on. So this is all, I start with the darkest color and the purples, and I would do the lighter ones, and then like all this is just dry brushed on as I go along. And color choices, usually I'm making it up as I go along, see what I like. This is actually a really nice color combination now that I'm seeing it again for a while.
You've got to reproduce this one. I mean, that color is just fantastic. I'm in love with that.
Yeah, I'm really liking this part through here.
Yeah, no kidding. That is nice looking. The horn ups on top is really cool looking. It has a semi-translucent quality to it.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this piece in probably 2 or 3 years since I did it as a commission piece, and haven't seen it since then. So it's amazing what you see when you go through all your old pictures again.
Yeah, this is really good piece, man.
Thank you.
That the chest area looks like ice.
Yeah, like a glacial ice, I guess. I wonder if I would shoot for that.
Yeah, Teresa says she loves it. Julia says yes. Very cool.
Well, thank you, ladies. You have to pull that one off to the side.
Yeah. That is, well, of all the pieces I've seen today, this is definitely my favorite.
Thank you.
Oh, I like this guy too. Man, oh man. I just like your work. I really do.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier that this piece was originally a bronze-colored football player because a gallery owner told me that I needed to have more mainstream stuff in his gallery.
Which is garbage. that's the wrong advice. I'm sorry, but that's the wrong advice. I think
I didn't want to do it, and you could tell.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I redid it into this. It's like, ooh, this is fun.
I do things because of that very factor, because they're fun. I do occasionally I like to do some wildlife stuff, but fantasy affords me all kinds of creativity. So I didn't I'm not locked into one thing. I just wherever my imagination takes me. And
yeah, I can always tell when I did a piece that I didn't really want to do if I look at it later on.
Mm-hmm.
I could just tell. It's like, yeah, my heart wasn't in that piece.
Yeah, same here. There's some pieces where I thought starting out it was going to be okay, and then I end up taking a wrong turn somewhere, and then, well, my shelves over here are filled with projects half started. So half started, probably never finish.
Yeah, like I said, I have a couple pieces that have been sitting around for a while that are probably just never going to get done because I just don't feel like doing them anymore.
Yep, same here. I also have found that if you have an idea, you better jump on that idea when it occurs to you. Because if you wait for like a year or 2 years, then it gets, you might have it like on your to-do list, but then it gets to the point where like I'm no longer interested in that. So
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a finished sculpt without any of the paint on it. And then hopefully if they're in order.
oh yeah,
And there's the beginning parts of the paint. It's probably the first 3 coats. And then there it is finished.
wow, wow. I've got to take my hat off to you. I think you're a much better painter than I am.
Oh, well, thank you.
I, that's really nicely done.
That's where my years of sculpting animals at the Renaissance Fair really helped out. But that's all, is I paint like you do. Most of this is all dry brushed.
Yeah, those
Just, just through layers.
the nice subtle tone to that snout there is just fantastic. And the dark eyes, the outline of the dark eyes is just spot on.
Yeah, that always makes the eyes pop when you get that nice dark around them. Almost all of my things have a dark around their eye.
Very cool, Jim. Oh, a minotaur.
Very angry Minotaur.
I had a customer. In fact, he's been around to my booth better part of 2 or 3 years now, and every time I see him coming up, I recognize him now, and he's like, "I want you to do a Minotaur trophy for me," and I'm thinking, well, that, and if he's listening, I'm sorry, but that's just a cow head. He's got to have the torso, the body, a weapon in his hands,
Yeah, that seems like I should be able to just go and find that someplace.
But I do like what you've done with his eye ridges, his eyebrows up there. Man, those look really angry, and that the whole stance there is really good. I like the broken horn, but the eyes are really. That's where you nailed it at, man.
Thank you.
And again, really good job on the paint job. Oh wow.
This is a wedding topper I did for some friends of mine, Harry and Lee. He wanted to be a hobbit, and Lee wanted to be a Starfleet officer. So
Well, cool. Wedding toppers. That's a big business there.
right. Yeah, if I ever do those, I'm going to have to do them a different way because this was too heavy to actually sit on the cake.
Oh yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah. So this was done with clay too, or
Yeah, this was all done with clay
oh well.
and intentionally stylized and cartoony. So
Oh man. Wow.
I got some interesting comments on this particular creature at the shows.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, man, that's really good. Years ago, I did this big bust of a head, and it sold. But on the first con that I took it to, because it was done like really scary somewhat similar to this. But yeah, you know what I like? I like the way you do your horns. It's just got that layered look to it. And
Thank you. Yeah. I like to get my pieces even when they're weird and twisted like this. I like for them to have a flow to them. They're just so their basic shapes kind of all work together.
that'd make a great. I mean, I'd love to have that on my wall. That'd be fantastic. I don't know what Kat would say, but I would say definitely good. Our whole house, she would be loving it. Although she'd probably love this dragon more.
Kind of looks like a Skeksis.
Yeah, I met the creator of the Skeksis not too
Oh
long
yeah.
ago. Yeah, great guy. Oh man, that now these gargoyles. I like this look probably the best of the gargoyles right here. Just the head part and the wings coming up. That's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun piece to do. It's hard to get a good photograph of it, but that was a fun piece to do.
Now you could cast this one pretty easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. This was way before I was doing castings.
Oh, and this piece here, nice.
Yeah, you can see the colors a little bit better in this picture. There's a lot more of my dark stuff in this particular folder. I think I showed that earlier. On my bookworm.
Uh huh. Definitely love your colors, man.
That's that's a cast piece right there.
Wow, that is awesome. And
That,
simplicity itself for casting. Oh my God, yes.
yeah, except I did the painting of it. It turns out to be kind of a nightmare
I can see that. Yeah.
with a little castle and everything behind it.
And then all the
Yep.
blue sky behind it. That's detail painting there.
Yep. The entire piece, frame, and everything is cast.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah, that because you've got his foot over the top of the frame, so it has to be.
That was originally going to be a series. You know, that's the fall dragon. Then I was going to do the other seasons, and I just never got that far.
Well, he's a great fall dragon. Looks perfect. Julia says, Parenthood is calling, but thank you both so much for the art fix. Jim, you're always inspiring.
Well, thank you, Julia. Good luck with Parenthood.
Hey, we're coming up on 2 hours, Jim. So we'll probably want to wrap up soon. But man, oh, I love this piece.
This is another cast piece. This is a chalkboard, a little miniature chalkboard.
If you could, yeah, that's cool. If you could uh, put a mirror in there too, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Be hard to do, but be
I need to
awesome.
simplify the shape. This one is the biggest problem with this one is it's multiple pieces because it's too big for my even the size it is. It's too big for my pressure pot that I currently have. So I've got like one dragon, and then this little piece. So basically everything kind of down the middle is broken. So
You
he
need one
has
of those. You need one of those 10-gallon pressure pots that I was talking about.
yeah, I
They're
really
for $330 on Amazon. Man, can't beat it.
yeah I really do need a much bigger pressure pot than I currently have. Uh,
I'll find
no-
you. I'll find a link and send it to you.
This is another cast piece. So I do have some of my resin pieces in here. This is a little card holder. The business cards will fit kind of right in his tail.
Oh, cool.
And I paint him in all kinds of little different colors. And these are the These are the glass eyes that I use. I just get them off of. I actually buy mine from a place on Amazon that I can't think of the name of right now, but they come in a different variety of eyes styles, and I'll just pick which one I think fits that particular piece at the time.
On the smaller ones, I buy a lot of pre-made eyes. It's only on the bigger ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's some eyes I had. Let's see if I can get it up here. Gotta find the camera here.
Oh, those are nice.
And some of them are like copied out of off of a cat. Some of them are just done in Photoshop. Some of them are off of a lizard.
Very nice.
But to do this little bitty tiny, like an 8mm eye, man, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's just faster just to do it, just to buy them since they're pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, I agree.
Another cast piece. This is Daffodil, the winged hippo. A different view of that same dragon.
Oh, very cool. You have done a lot of work, my friend.
Thank you. This was a little experiment in poured painting that I was doing.
I have been fascinated by what I've been seeing online, where they take, paint and spill it all out, and then they spin it up, and then drop some oil in there, and it just looks so cool. And this is like combining with painting of the birds themselves. Nice, really cool.
Thank you.
Oh man, I like that.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot. I did basically the pour, and then I went and tried to find what was in it. I found a tiger, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, how how would you pour that around there? But yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's some gorgeous color.
Thank you. Yeah, I got some metallic paints in there. And trick with this stuff is to not play with it too much, because then it just gets muddy on you.
Yeah. Years ago, I did this big space scene. My son's got the painting downstairs in his office. Still have the original. That was fun. I like this guy too.
This is another cast piece that I have.
Now, what does the mold look like? Is it a two-part mold, or is it cut mold, or?
This one is, let me think. I believe this is I think it's a one-piece mold with a split down the wings.
Okay, yeah.
It's held up pretty good, except for I made a really deep undercut in here that I didn't get smooth enough, so it's kind of since torn out, which works because it still looks like rocks. So
Yeah, so happy little accident.
yeah, way too deep of an undercut in that one, even for the dragon skin mold.
And now, are you casting the eyes inside the resin as you're pouring, or are you adding the eyes later?
I add the eyes later. I know that you cast them in, which I might try one of these days. But yeah, I just do the sculpture with the eye and then pop it out before I mold it, so I know that it should all fit afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a little extra step of gluing them back in after the fact.
Yeah, some because I do. There's a little turtle that I do, and his eyes are so far down that I can't get to them in the mold to place the eyes. So he has to be done later, after the fact. But a lot of it I do cast right inside. Like the boxes, I always cast right inside.
Yeah, anything you can do to speed the process along a bit.
Yeah.
So that is the last of my pre-prepared slideshow.
Wow. That was good, Jim.
Well, thank you.
And oh, we need to let's see here. There we go. Well, it's been a good 2 hours for us.
Yeah, it's been good talking with you again. I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, no kidding.
Darn pandemic.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get back sometime to doing some shows. I left a rollover for the Denver PopCon for next year, so I'm going to try to make it out there. I think that's going to be in May, but we'll have to wait and see if they actually allow it.
Yeah, that's the trick right now. What's allowed, what's not.
And it's not only that, but I'm 62 now, and I'm diabetic, so kind of rolling the dice on some of that. If I get it, I don't want to have a bad time.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta take care of yourself first.
Well, let's wrap up here, Jim. I really thank you for joining me, and we look forward to some new work from you, just seeing what was going to happen. Definitely repeat that purple color, that amethyst color. I love that. That stuck out. Of all the things I looked at today, that one has really popped in my mind. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I will definitely repeat that color on something.
All right, we'll sign off and then